Hi everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my garden. I hope you can see me because it's raining just enough that my camera might get covered with water droplets. It's been raining all day today, but it's been a light, soft, gentle rain, enough that I feel like I could come out with a hood. I wish I had an umbrella, but my girls took it to school today, so you know how that goes. So my plan is to go to the greenhouse and work on some propagation today, but I just wanted to take a quick look around the garden and see how it was looking. This is the area that I'm concerned about with my drainage, and it's not been bad raining today. It's been kind of like showers / sprinkles just pretty much all day long, not too bad, but you can see the water is starting to creep up along the garden bed right here. And then of course, if it was any harder than if it was raining any harder than it was now, it would kind of start to fill up. So you can kind of see what I was talking about in the other video, talking about the drainage kind of backing up in this area, which is just one of those things. Honestly, I have to say, for the whole property, if that's the worst drainage issue we have, I'm pretty happy about that, because I know in this area where we live in California, we get like pretty intense flooding. And so if that's the worst that we have to deal with, I will definitely take it. I did also want to show you the dry creek bed. You can see it's starting to fill up a little bit with water right there. That is exactly what it's supposed to do, which is great. Like, the water can sit there, for as long as it wants, right? It is a place for the water to kind of drain into for the rest of this garden bed, and then slowly percolate through the ground as the rain stops and everything kind of dries up. So that's looking really good as well. So I'm gonna head back to the greenhouse right now. Today I am propagating geraniums. There's my topiary haul from yesterday. I did not get a chance to plant it today, unfortunately, but that's okay. I should be able to get to it this weekend. You can see the greenhouse is fogging up. I've got the heater on. Ooh, feels good. Well, that's convenient timing. It started pouring as soon as I got in here. Perfect timing. I can just hang out in here. I'm not closing the door all the way because the hose is right there. I wish I had like a sink in here or something like that, but that's okay. Anyway, so for those of you wondering, this is the Triumph greenhouse. It's a orangery greenhouse. Orangery is the style of the greenhouse with the doors in the front, just like that. And it's from a company called Canopia. And if you've heard of Paul Ram, which makes a lot of greenhouses, it's Canopia by Paul Ram, basically. And at my last house, I actually had a Paul Ram greenhouse as well, maybe like a third of this size, that I loved as well. It was great. But this one, obviously, I absolutely love. It's not glass, it's plastic, but I like it. I think it's great. Just a couple weeks ago, I cleaned all the windows to get all the water spots and dust and everything off of it. I did not clean the ceiling though, and I would like to do that, but hopefully the rain is getting a lot of it off. Then over here, I have my heater. My heater is also from Canopia. You can get it on the Canopia website. It's a great heater. It works really well, almost a little too well sometimes, because you can see I'm scorching this poor plant right here. And then over here, this plant, I feel like I have to water all the time. Obviously, it needs to be repotted in a bigger pot, and then it's just, it gets warm in here for it, I think. I think that's the problem. So I gotta water that today. But the other thing that I'm doing today is I am addressing these geraniums that I've been growing in here. My goal for this greenhouse was try to grow as much flowers. I have tomatoes growing over here, house plants, just to have some green over the winter. And I feel like I've kind of been doing a good job. I probably could do a better job, and add more things in here, but it's hard. You get busy, especially around the holidays and stuff like that. But now I'm going to try and add more. The one thing I want to do today, so yesterday I went to Lowe's, and Lowe's is very well known for its clearance rack, and it had zonal geraniums on its clearance rack for $4 each, which is a good deal, but it's very easy to propagate geraniums. So it was kind of on my list of something that I wanted to get done. So it's perfect day to do it. I do have to say though, I am noticing, you guys see that? That is a sign of budworms, which is very frustrating. Hold please. So budworms are little green worms that like to attack geraniums. So these are pelargoniums, technically. They're zonal geraniums. They love geraniums. They love petunias. You can use something called BT to deal with them very easily. And when you see holes in your leaves or less flowers than you would normally expect, there's some holes right there. And when you see little black dots like that, that is a telltale sign that you have budworms, but they're really, really hard to find. And these guys are hiding from me. I feel like budworms are my absolute arch nemesis in the garden, and like I have gophers and I still feel like budworms are my arch nemesis. My friend Deb from A Cozy Garden on Instagram, I did a garden tour of her garden last year. Absolutely beautiful. I'll link it down below. She is the, hands down, the sweetest human being on earth. But if she starts talking about gophers, you can see like the evil eye, the flames behind her eyes come out. You know it's true, Deb. So that's how I feel about budworms. So I'll be here for like an hour trying to find them. So back to the propagating, which is what this video is about, not about budworms. I am going to be doing propagating my geraniums. So geraniums, aka zonal geraniums, and their real name is pelargoniums, that I have incredible trouble pronouncing, just like anemones. It's so hard for me, so I'm just going to call them geraniums, but just know I'm talking about zonal geraniums today. Well, honestly, you can propagate hardy geraniums just as easily, or like ivy leaf geraniums just as easy. I just don't have any right now. I just have my zonal geraniums. So anyway, I am going to be propagating them two ways. The first way is via soil. So I'm going to be taking a cutting of the geranium, making sure it has a leaf node on it. I could use a rooting hormone to help it a little bit, but the cool thing about geraniums is they are so incredibly easy to propagate, you really don't need a rooting hormone. And I'm not going to use it today. I'm going to be lazy because I don't need it, right? As for the soil, you can use potting soil. Don't use soil from your garden. That's too heavy. You can use potting soil. Or you can use seed starting mix. And I'm actually going to use seed starting mix because it's actually sterile and it has really good drainage. And that's the one thing for geraniums, is you want to make sure it has really good drainage. They don't like too much water. The other way for propagating is actually propagating in water, which I know is kind of funny to say that, but that's when you're just putting the stem into water and you're basically developing roots in the water. And then after a couple weeks, about 3 weeks, you transplant that into a soil. So I'm just going to do both ways just for fun today. I love geraniums because they're so beautiful. They bloom all season long. They're only hardy zones 9 through 12, but if they're not hardy in your zone, they're so easy to bring inside to a greenhouse or even indoors and put them by a bright light. I think you can even overwinter them in a garage. I think they can go dormant. Don't quote me on that, but check into it. They're just a fantastic plant. Like I said, they're so easy to propagate, and they're very, very easy to start from seed. So it's just one of those great plants if you're on a budget or you have a really big garden like I do and you got to fill some space. This is a great plant to do it with. Do you want to come in here? You're getting wet. You got a stick. Good for you. Come on. So I'm going to start with water propagation because it's the easiest and it's the quickest. So you just want to get a cup or a jar or a vase and fill it with water. You do want to make sure that you change the water pretty frequently. You don't want it to get all mucky and moldy. And then you're going to come over here and you're going to find a good cutting. And what you want to have is you want to make sure that you have a leaf node on it. So if you can see right here where leaves or stems are coming out of, this is a leaf node right here. So you want to make sure that you have at least one, maybe even two of those in the water, because that's where the roots are going to come from. And this is the exact same thing for soil propagation. These nodes right here, this little spot right here, is where the roots are going to come from to start your new plant. So I'm going to go for this stem right here. This is a nice one that I can show you guys. These are the leaves that I'm going to leave on. I want to leave just a couple baby leaves on my cutting. And then, like I said, I want to make sure I have some leaf nodes. So there's one, and then there's actually two right there. So I'm actually going to cut just under this one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off whatever stems or leaves are on those leaf nodes. Because if I leave these stems or leaves on, whether I put it in water or whether I put it in soil, they're actually going to rot and they're going to cause possible failure of your cutting. So you want to make sure it's nice and clean, just like that. And then there's actually too much growth on here. Remember, there's no roots on this cutting right now. So these leaves need a lot more energy than this stem can give it with no roots. So I just want to leave a couple on there. So I'm going to pull these back. But you do want to have at least some leaves. And then if I had any buds, is that a bud or a leaf? If I have any buds, you just want to pinch them off and make sure that there's no buds. Because if there's any buds, that's a ton of energy this cutting has to go towards to keep that, to make that bud flower. So all the energy will be going towards the bud and not actually towards creating roots. So this is a perfect cutting right here, and you just stick it in the water. So all of a sudden it started pouring. I hope you guys can still hear me with the rain. I'm going to be leaving this cutting in water for about 3 weeks until I see the roots grow to about 1 inch long. Once I see them grow to about 1 inch long, I will pot this cutting up into potting soil, not seed starting mix at that point. At that point, the cutting needs nutrients, and so it needs some potting soil. And then I'm going to keep that moist, and I'm going to keep it out of really strong direct sunlight. I'm actually just going to leave it in the greenhouse because I think it's going to be fine. But if you're doing this like in the spring or in the summer, I would have it in the shade or something like that. Then you'll leave it in the pot growing until you start to see some new growth. At that point, you can tip it out of the pot and check and see if you have good root development in the soil. And then once you see that, you can transplant it out into the garden or to one of your containers. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take some more cuttings that I can propagate in water. Okay, I've got 12 beautiful cuttings, actually more than that, 12, 13 beautiful cuttings. So hopefully I will have 13 beautiful new geranium plants that I can plant out into my garden for free. And I'm sure I'll do more. I only did this plant over here with this color bloom. I do have this one, which is kind of like a bubblegum pink. And then I don't know if you guys can see. No, it's too foggy. Over there, I have another variety. You can't see, it's too foggy. Anyway, so I'm only doing this one because I think this is the color that I want in my front garden. It's very, very saturated. It's very rich, and this is kind of the color I want to go for. Not to say I'm not going to use any bubblegum pink, Super Tunia Vista bubblegum, but I really love this color. So I'll just leave these guys here. I'll probably end up changing the water here probably once a week and then making sure these stay nice and moist. That's really important. They're very, very wet right now from the rain, but I figured it was easier just to run out there and get some pre-moistened soil rather than wetting it myself, soaking it myself. I am being lazy because I don't want to run over to the compost pile, and I just threw everything right there. I will clean it up later when it's not raining, but I'm glad that I got this done. So truly, propagating geraniums is one of the easiest things to do. And as I'm out here doing this, I'm just remembering how much I love propagating. It is one of the things that got me so obsessed with gardening. I used to propagate way too much. Like, I had a very small property and I used to propagate everything that I could get my hands on. I would propagate just because I love the process of it so much. I think it is so fun to be able to make your own plants by just the knowledge that you can take a cutting and put it in water, or you can take a cutting and put it in soil. To me, it's just something that is so incredibly fun about gardening, and it just makes it so accessible. If you have this knowledge of propagation, having a beautiful garden is just so accessible. I have the UC Davis Arboretum very close to me. It's like 5 minutes away from me, and they actually have a volunteer job where all you do all day is propagation for like their plant sales and stuff like that. And like, I think, I don't know, one day, maybe once the kids, you know, grow up and move out and everything like that, one day I would love to take on that volunteer job of, you know, being the propagator for an arboretum. I just love it. I love it so much. So doing this, super, super fun, even in the rain. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today. I'm gonna do zonal geranium, or pelargonium. So then I'm gonna leave this cutting in here. So then I'm going to leave this cutting in here for about 3 weeks. I don't want to put it in bright sunlight, but Monty, come here! Come here, Papa! It's too wet! It's raining too hard!